Yeah, so I wanted to do a follow-up video to the building a house in the Philippines. And I must do a disclaimer. What I'm talking about is building a house in a specific part of the Philippines. And I'm absolutely sure that if you were to build a house in Manila, it would be quite different. Out here, we are in the province and things are much more laid back, and so they're going to be different. It's a fact of life. Um, so let's just look at a couple of things. Most of the stuff we have already dealt with, but some of the things are not quite enough. Now you need to, what we actually did was we have a workforce that we call the Superman team, and they are the ones that do the carpentry. They do the iron work, the welding on the roof, installing the roof. They do all the cement work. They do the concreting, all of that. They do that, and they have actually come along quite well. We have been using Beth's brother, Beanie, who actually I think is wasting his time. He really should go on and study. It's just not in his makeup. And you know what? At first I was a little critical, thinking, I'm shaking my head, wow, you could be earning a lot of money. You could be this. It's not in everybody's makeup to do that. Not everybody wants to make a lot of money. Some people, damn them, are quite happy where they are. For many years I chased that idea that you should have fame and fortune. I was a musician and a singer and an instrumentalist, and I dreamed of that all the time. Though I had a lot of praise and admiration and all that kind of thing that goes with being in a band that's very popular. It was not a top 40 band. It was a top 40 band in that we played all top 40 material, but it actually wasn't a great recording band. But we were very popular, worked every night of the week, and I had a good life, and a lot of praise and compliments, and that's really what the entertainment business is about. But I digress, which is unusual about me. So what we're looking at is that if you can have a nucleus of people that you trust, and the one example of this, other than ourselves at the moment, is our friend, who you will see him now as he is public anyway and being seen and showing his house being built, then I see no reason not to say his name. But his name, right, is Scott Brinks, and he is building a house high on the hill, deep into the hillside, and with an incredible view, which is what we have too. So what he has found, in order to get things done the way that he wants, he has found to be there. And so he has had a lot of input in the way that the house is built. And apparently, from what he tells me, he has a great deal of experience in this, and has built houses before, not professionally as a contractor, but has been involved in designing and building houses. So he knows what he's doing. So there's an example of the way that some people have found it works. For us, it works for Beth to be there. Now you might be thinking, why would I not be there? Well, one of the problems that a foreigner might have about building a house, which I've mentioned before, is that you're not always a welcome sight, even though you're paying the wages. You're not always a welcome sight on the site. So it's best to have the go-between. And as it happens, in being a go-between, Beth has learned fast. She has a natural ability to know what to do. Now, where I come in is, as I've said before on the other video, if it is that that they put up a support beam and it's simply not going to do the job, then I step in and I say I want this done. And so far, because these little forays into the building scene on our property, we haven't had to do that too often, because Beanie's brother is pretty naturally talented in building, and the team has worked very, very well. So you're going to need to have some input, and the more that you have, the more that you're going to need a go-between, an interpreter, in order to make things go smoothly. Right. Now, the one thing that I really wanted to cover in this is a kind of a shocking discovery that we've had ourselves while we've been talking to people in government departments. And I can't vouch for whether this information is absolutely now. Okay? So it's possible that this may be on the cards. It's possible that this may be coming up along with other things. But what we're talking about is the changing of the title of the land. Now, if you're a foreigner and you're coming over, and that's the people that I'm now talking to, is what foreigners will do in order to build a house and how much it costs. So one of the things that will affect the cost a great deal, first and foremost, you've got permits to do. And if it's a place where it needs permits, you need to post. You've got to post the thing up, and everywhere you go where there's a building going on, you'll see something like this, a big card that's up outside, and it says permit number so and so. So you know that it's permitted. You'll know that it is that it's being handled by an architect and an engineer, and somebody from the government has a hand in it. Now, if you're coming from the UK or America, if you buy a place, then the bill of sale is your proof, and usually in my experience in the UK is you go to an estate agent, a real estate agent, and you say, I'd like to look at houses. He takes you around, and part of his service is that he may have people that he recommends to do contracting for you, or an architect or an engineer. He may have these, or you'll find out for yourself. But there will be an exchange of information and services that comes with the real estate, and the real estate agent will interact with your attorney. In the UK, they call that man a solicitor, which when you see some of the offences that people are all caught up on in America, soliciting is not something that you would recommend. But you go to an attorney, a solicitor, and he handles all of the paperwork. The money is exchanged at the same time. So all of the paperwork is done, and the money is there. You put a deposit up to show real intent, and then you get the changeover. Now, when you turn the key in your door of your new house, you own it, in fact, in physical presence and in name. So you've got a piece of paper that says you are the owner, and it names you, and it's a legal thing. And in America they call it the note. You've seen the note. The note is the original piece of paper, the original document on that property. So all of that is that way. In the Philippines, it's not working out that way at all. Now, at one time, a few years ago, certainly before my time in Bohol and Beth's return, if you went to, if you owned the land, for instance, Beth's father died, and I'm guessing that it was in his name, and so the title was transferred over into Nanai's name, all right? And this was done free or for a modest fee, right? Now that's changed. It's either changed or it's on the cards, as I said. So if you go in and you buy quite a few thousand meters, everything's sold in square meters here. So if you go in and you buy and you want that title changed into your name, this is where the real money starts to pile up. Now, I'll let you do the math, but what's very clear is that what we were told this today, that the BIR will step in, the Bureau of the tax people, okay? So the American IRS. So they come in and they want their piece of action. Now, the way that we've been told, that piece of action is the biggest piece of action in the whole deal. In fact, you may be asked to pay more to the BIR than you did to the seller of the property that you have. This is a very scary thought, because you may have probably paid more than you wanted to pay, so you may be in the same situation that many people in America and in the UK would be in, that they'd paid more than they wanted to, and they were strapped. So they go into their new home and they're really stretched. The last thing that they can afford to do is to pay a huge amount to any government body. Now, the way that they calculate, the way the BIR calculates what you owe them is nothing short of terrifying. You are required to pay, if you want the title changed into your name, this is what we've been told, 55 times, that's 55x every square meter. So work it out. It's a lot of money. And the way that we were told is that that's definite. That's it. It's not a maybe. But it was put to us that the BIR would make their calculations and then they would tell us, and then we'd have the bill. So we're sweating on that for sure. 55 times what you are required to pay is what you are required to pay. Now, what's happening is, and this is what we were told off the record, this is why people are operating just on the bill of sale. So you go in, you pay for a property, you meet all of the people that are involved. It can be, and I'll deal with that in a moment, but you go in, you pay your money, the deed of sale is exchanged very informally, right? And you now own the property. The only thing is that your name is not on the title, but of course you can prove with your deed of sale, you can prove that you bought it. So there's no question about this. Now, the bitter pill to swallow will be if you then go ahead and want to transfer the title into your name. Now, if you're coming from the States or you're coming from the West, if you're coming from the West that I know, Australia, the US, the UK, you'll say, well, of course I want. Of course I want the deed has to be in my name. That was the first thing that I was talking to Beth about when I came. Is everything in your name? Have you attended to all of that? With my foreigner's mindset. But it's very relaxed here. Bear in mind, for instance, you can have a child here that can grow to 6 or 7 or 8 or even 10 maybe, and still not have a birth certificate. And the birth certificate is required in order to do certain things, like going to school. So, it's important to know what the deal is. Now, let's get to one of the things, while we're talking about finances, let's get to one of the things that is obvious. That's another thing as well, is that it's not handed in bank accounts and cashier's checks. One sale that we heard of, the man who was telling wanted the money in cash, and the buyer had to go along to the bank and draw out a bag full of cash, nearly 1 million pesos. Now, it doesn't matter whether 1 million pesos is divided by 55, okay, it doesn't matter. If you're living here, then you're paying all your bills in pesos, and if you're on a pension like I am, then you will be receiving your pension in pesos. So you got to forget this idea of, wow, that's let me see, times 55 or divide by 55. You can forget all of that. It really doesn't make any difference when you get into a tricycle and take a 3-mile ride in a tricycle, whether you're going to pay 15 pesos or 20 pesos or whatever. You see what I mean? So you've got this situation then where the temptation will be, in fact the stipulation will be, that you have the deed in your name. Now, assuming what I was in the situation of when I came over, when I came with Beth, we start building a house. We start building a house next to Nanai's, because Nanai owns the land. But there are inheritances, and these are also almost like another video. So, if you're a foreigner and you're coming over and you already have a girlfriend, she probably has a piece of land, or she already has some kind of a humble house on there which you decide is good enough for you to build on. Alright? If that's the case, you're lucky and you can just go ahead and build. And I've already dealt with the fact that depending where you're building, if you're building on a high road with all the facilities and everything of town and some lovely houses around you, then you're going to be thinking differently to if you're building a house in an isolated spot like we have. We can look out the window in almost any direction and see rolling hills, beautiful scenery. So let's look at the other way. So if you have a girlfriend, become wife, then what is being done is that the property is bought by the wife. It's in the wife's name. So if you are of the mindset that, and this is the way that you think, which I don't criticize, everybody to his own way. But if you are concerned that maybe you've been listening to a lot of the ugly stories about Filipinas, which are in general not true. That's my heartfelt feeling. Now, if you want to protect yourself, then what you will do is you will go to an attorney and you will sign it all legal and proper, and you'll have a lease on that property. You will sign a lease and you will own the use of that property for 20 years or 25 years. Now, assuming that you are already 65 or 70, that might possibly do you. So we won't go into that any further. So that will be the thing that you would do. Personally, we didn't do that. And I'll take whatever comes. I have faith, I have trust, and who knows? Nobody's guaranteed anything, are they, in this life? So that's something that you will have to be aware of. And if you do get a new property, which is then in your wife's name, in other words, the bill of sale is in your wife's name or your girlfriend's name, then you then have the problem that I've just been talking about, is that you may, if what we have heard is absolutely true, that each square meter is judged by the value of each square meter. That's how they sell property here. They sell it for 100 or 200 or 300 or 400 or 1,000 pesos per square meter, and it depends where you're buying. Location is the same here. It's location, 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 as they say in America. So they're going to value, they're going to price what you owe the BIR by saying, what did you pay for it? You paid X amount, and it's going to be X amount times how many X's you've got on the property times 55. You may decide that you are going to leave it as it is and just go on the bill of sale, which is what everybody is doing. That's what we were told off the record by the lady that we dealt with. She's saying that's why so many people just have a bill of sale. So I'll leave you to make those decisions on your own. I'll do another, if anybody has any questions that they specifically like to ask to do with this, I'll do my best either to answer straight off the cuff, or I'll try to find out for you. We're here to try and help. Bye for now.